Welcome and thank you for tuning into A Sound Constitution on CHLY 101.7 FM with Cassandra, Harris, Carla, Kelly, Max, and Samantha. We're third-year BSN students at Vancouver Island University in Nanaimo. We're working to demystify healthcare issues affecting our community, bringing you evidence-based information about our healthcare. This information is for education purposes only and does not replace the advice of your primary healthcare provider.
Hello and welcome to A Sound Constitution on CHLY 101.7 FM. Before I begin our show, I'd like to say thank you, and we are on the unceded territory of the Nanaimo people, whose traditional territories of the Kuwatsin and Slayamin we broadcast over. My name is Samantha, and I will be your host today with my lovely co-host, Cassandra. We're both third-year BSN students at VIU and super excited to be here with you all. Today, our episode will address the needed but also uncomfortable for some topic of homelessness within our community. Today, we will hear two interviews, one with Sabina Atkinson, who is the program facilitator at Caravan, alongside an interview with Ryan Schmeister, a fourth-year BSN student at VIU, touching on the importance of arts for individuals experiencing homelessness. We will also touch on some resources within our community for individuals experiencing homelessness or at risk for experiencing homelessness, as well as some social determinants of health. So, what constitutes as someone experiencing homelessness? The Canadian Observatory on Homelessness created a definition which includes the following: individuals who are completely unsheltered and living in places not intended for human habitation. Another is the emergency sheltered, which can include individuals staying in shelters. Also, the provisionally accommodated, for individuals whose accommodation is only temporary, like individuals couch surfing. And lastly, individuals at risk for experiencing homelessness. Today we have a special guest joining us to give you new insight and information about how people in our communities who are experiencing homelessness can receive medical and health attention and care. Here we have Sabina with us, who is a program facilitator at Caravan. She's going to give us an inside look into a wonderful program. Hi Sabina, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. So I'm very excited to find out more about Caravan. Can you give us a description that would best describe the program's background, goals, and motivations and overall mission?
Comox Valley Daycare Society, Caravan, is a not-for-profit, community-funded mobile outreach unit. We provide no-fee healthcare and social development services to people directly in the streets of Comox Valley. In Comox Valley, we're a town that has one of the lowest vacancy rates in the province for housing. We have a great deal of people who are marginally housed, who are homeless, who are precariously housed or living in the woods in the surrounding area. Helen Boyd, a registered nurse and mental health therapist, identified this gap in the community and launched a society in 2009, which was a grassroots response to the housing crisis. In many cases, we have noticed that people have had no connection to health and social development services or are having challenges navigating traditional services and the times that they are open. We've continued to operate as a grassroots nonprofit organization driven by volunteer workforce of health and social development experts. We have volunteer nurses, doctors, social workers, harm reductionists, drug strategists, community support liaison, cultural advisors who work with us to develop programs that meet the changing needs of our community members and the people using our services. We maintain a schedule of going out 4 nights per week, and we have predetermined stops at about 6 geographic locations in our catchment per night. We decide those routes and change them based on the needs of the people using our services or other service organizations identifying that people are not being able to access services in a certain region of town, so we would often change that seasonally. Although through the pandemic, we have kept a fairly consistent route for longer than we usually do, so that people who are having lack of access to social media by the impacts of closures of public resource centers are able to consistently find us and not be trying to chase our route to catch up with us. Our mission is to develop socially innovative solutions to overcoming barriers that prevent people from moving forward towards better health and appropriate housing. We use the provision of primary health care, community development, prevention, intervention, and homelessness strategies. We are dedicated to improving the health and social services for people in diverse communities and throughout our community by building trusted relationships with the people who are experiencing homelessness. And we provide ambulatory care and health promotional services that promotes positive change. Our mission is to be providing safe, ethical, social development services to people who are already homeless or people who are at risk of homelessness. And we hope that we can build the consistency and continuity of care and then support them with liaison services to not duplicate services and to help them to receive services from other agencies. So to address those barriers for our clients, we engage them where they're at. We provide a supportive, encouraging environment and public education to the community and to our practitioners.
Wow, you guys do a lot of work there. Thank you so much for that. So my next question goes on is, what is your role or roles with the Caravan program?
Well, I started as a volunteer RN in 2016, and then I took over as the coordinator that year. I work as the coordinator that keeps the program functioning, as well as seeks the funding for the maintenance of the program. And when I'm on the van, I'm working as a community health street outreach nurse. My background in nursing is in acute mental health, crisis services, and addiction medicine, community health, First Nations health, and poverty reduction and social engagement strategies.
That's a lot to do in a day. Congratulations. I don't know how you get it all done. Can you give our listeners a look into what happens during a typical Caravan day?
Sure. On an average day, our team meets together to collect some of our equipment that we keep under lock and key, like our data bank and our medication supply.
Of course.
We usually have 3 people out en route. The team is a multidisciplinary team. We have a driver who is responsible for triage and engaging people and supporting the healthcare staff to help people according to their priorities, but mostly we see people first come, first serve when we arrive on location.
Okay.
People are able to immediately speak with or interact with a nurse or doctor, a social worker, or a harm reductionist, or a mental health worker or a cultural support worker about their needs. We try to address their immediate primary care needs. We do a lot of education. We provide a lot of supplies to people. We have a number of programs. We have ones that are centered around access to water and hygiene supplies. We have programs centered around food and nutrition. We work with people to fill out forms for medical that help them to have more adequate nutrition. We do a referral service and a checkup for dental and denture care. We do early screening in partnership with an audiologist and optometrist around providing people vision and hearing screening, and helping them to procure glasses and hearing aids. Wow. We do crisis stabilization and mental health supports. We have overdose prevention and OPS-style support services, so people are not using alone. We hand out harm reduction supplies. We do referrals to detox, mental health, and outreach programs within the community that work at different hours than us.
Okay.
And we do phone services and help link people with other agencies. Sometimes we're doing short-term case management. Throughout the route, we travel around our town. We are operating at night outside of the office hours of other businesses, so we are serving a specific population where they are already, which decreases a lot of barriers, and we are being able to support people with resourcing them at a time of day where it's not easy to access service.
Of course, totally. That's so much that you guys do, so much more than I think the general population realizes. So now to ask, why do you think this program is so important to have in our community and even build in other communities?
I think it's important that when people have not been receiving services because they may experience disadvantage due to societal norms or distribution of wealth, or discrimination or childhood trauma, that we are able to provide service to people in the context that is comfortable for them to be served. Definitely. I think it's important that we make some effort to meet people where they're at and really support them with their needs in ways that are innovative. We've served over 2,700 unique individuals in 11 years. And when we started, we had a fairly set population, and the face of homelessness has really changed over the last 11 years. It is a lot more multi-demographic than it was previously, partly due to the rising cost of housing.
Totally.
There's been a 598% increase in people who are homeless and precariously housed in our region.
Wow.
About 44% are unhoused and 55% precariously housed, living in harsh, unheated shelters, couch serfs, and coercive relationships. And the population is disproportionately female, Indigenous, LGBTQ2S people. So we want to look at the disparities, and our staff are recognizing that they have some privilege and wanting to leverage that privilege and power to advocate for a population that is not receiving equal care and resource.
Definitely.
Over time, it seems like about 50% of the whole population that we have served did not have a healthcare provider or a physician. Wow. And another half of those were not enrolled in MSP.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow. 43% are living with chronic diseases, and 22 to 33% were living with mental health conditions. And I say just the variance because different years we've had different numbers of people living with mental health conditions or regular substance use. And for the majority of the people, about 56% of the people, the Caravan staff were their first point of care with primary care. Wow. And 44% of the people using our services maybe interacted with one other agency but weren't completely having their service needs met.
That is
40%
a lot.
of people complain of dental pain. 30% of them had no dental coverage or source of income and were referred onto our dental services. 1 in 6 people have vision impairment that had been not evaluated or noted and had been referred on to the optometrist or had received glasses through our program. And then our staff have been advocates for poverty reduction, housing strategies, EOPS, opioid overdose prevention, harm reduction, mental health supports, and short-term crisis stabilization and addictions medicine. And during the higher restriction periods of the pandemic, many of the community services in the valley were closed and were not open in the evening at all. And we have consistently provided access to food, hygiene supplies, medication, water, treatment, access to shower and laundry, and COVID education when other agencies were not available to do so.
Wow, okay. So it's very obvious from just talking to you for a few minutes now that Caravan does so much in comparison to what I think people realize. The amount of work that you guys do is so great. I honestly can't believe how many resources and how much you guys provide and how many people work with you. So speaking about that, if the Caravan did not exist, can you tell us how people who are experiencing homelessness would be affected and how that could impact our community?
Yeah, I had to think about this because, I always like to think that when we're developing health promotion and primary care, that, eventually we would solve an issue and we would become obsolete because the greater social issues or societal issues would be resolved, like poverty and lack of access to service. But Well, they are not. I see that if we were not in place in this region, people would be slipping through the cracks, not receiving urgent or emergent services. We would maybe see a lot more people in crisis or being transported to hospital for urgent emergent care. There'd be fewer people receiving transition services outside of basic office hours for other agencies. Probably increased socialization and isolation, and a lack of resources. We often hear from people we're kind of like a one-stop access, and that's deliberate. Like, our services change to meet the needs of the population that we serve. So when we started, we had about 8 or 9 programs, and now we have about 18 programs.
Wow.
And that's based on feedback from the people using our services and people who are supportive to the people using our services. So we also might see that people had a lack of referrals to facilitate access to service. And definitely, I mean, I've said this already, but definitely an increase in emergency department visits.
Wow, that's a big jump in program services. Hey, that's a lot more. And you guys working to meet the needs of your clients and moving and doing more in comparison to what they need is great. That's wonderful to hear. Can you tell me some details about how Caravan makes an effort to reduce the stigma of experiencing homelessness and preserves personal dignity?
I think it's important to respect people's diversity and uniqueness and their right to self-determine and identify. It's important that as health providers, we are not making assumptions about people's gender, ethnicity, cultural identity, or lived experience, or level of resilience. We're very focused on social inclusion and meeting people where they're at, and we come to them so that we can initiate an easier point of contact for engagement. We do a lot of public speaking and community engagement, replacing myths about poverty and homelessness, trauma, mental illness, substance use, and replace some of people's biases and misunderstandings with accurate information. Because stigma is really institutionally normalized, staff are taught to learn to leverage their power and knowledge to change social policy and laws. And this was the ones especially that result in inequitable distribution of resources, services, and care, and result in unfair treatment, racism, or discrimination. And I think that that's our responsibility to interrupt situations where people are being marginalized, and definitely to speak out about racism consistently within the health system. Yeah. We provide mentorship to students and nurses, residents, and doctors about decolonization and depaternalization of practices that limit people's autonomy and capacity. And we center our care priorities around the individual's needs being served through the provision of safe, respectful, and emancipatory care that promotes a person's autonomy and fosters choice, trust, and transparency in the relationship. So all of our staff have the opportunity to receive core fundamental training in cultural safety, trauma and violence-informed care, gender diversity, language of inclusion, anti-stigma language, and ensuring people that work with us are having a solid understanding of those concepts, both prior to working with us, but while they're continuing their service with us, so that our clients are treated with kindness, humanity, and respect and compassion.
Wow, okay. So I hear you saying a lot about breaking barriers and making sure there's more equity among our community members, and also taking a very upstream approach to education around stigma and individuals who experience homelessness. And I feel like that's a really good way to break those barriers. Personally, and also from the perspective of other members of Caravan, what have you felt that has been the most rewarding experience up until now while serving in this type of work?
Well, I think that a piece of it, like, again, this is a more challenging question for me, because a piece of working as a nurse is not about serving me, right? I mean, my role as a nurse is not for my gain. I find this work rewarding, however, that I use a broad range of nursing skills in this role. So it allows me to be quite diversified in using my skill set. And it's also a really authentic way to connect with people without the confines of traditional care environments that impose values, beliefs, certain criteria for use of service on an individual. So I like the low barrier aspect of it. And I think that that's pretty common, like with staff. I've heard a lot of people say they felt rejuvenated in their practice because they saw people in a different context. They were able to say yes about the things that they could manage right now, and also not have to kind of jump through hoops to make things happen for people. And then we didn't have like time constraints or limited staff. There's sometimes situations where people are working as health providers where there is a lot of need for service and not enough health care providers, and it limits the amount of time that we can spend to support people, and so we have to meet them more than once. So in this environment, quite often we can meet someone's immediate need, build a relationship with them, and then start to stabilize them with their ongoing needs. And so we see people coming to our service not in a linear way. We might see somebody and then not see them for 4 years again, or we might see someone for 3 years straight or 3 months straight and then not see them at all.
Sure.
Because they have stabilized and found housing, or they've got connected with other resources in the community, which is really, it's always changing, which is very interesting work.
I want to ask now, what advice would you give someone wanting to serve our communities and make a start in this type of field?
Well, I think two things. I think it's important for people to know, or to think about at least, why they want to work with any population.
Okay.
And kind of know what their values and beliefs are, and keep those in check. Like really to know where their privileges, know where there's power imbalance or could be perceived power imbalance in a relationship. I think it's important to feel that you're at a space where you're solid and autonomous in your practice.
Yep.
So you're able to carry out the scope of your skills that you can without requiring as much supervision from your team, because this team is more collaborative and interacting with each other. We do learn quite a lot from each other, but a person really needs to be able to carry out their scope in the environment that we're serving people. And people work in all different practice areas, so I don't think there's any one kind of nursing that is most suited to working in outreach. We have people who work in ICU and emerge. We have people who work in maternity, public health, mental health. We have people who work in Indigenous health. We have people who are medical surgical nurses. So it's really diverse who this work suits. But I would implore colleagues, peers to leverage your power for change.
Yep.
And engage in the process of shifting societal norms that create poverty, create inequity, and really keep on a path of lifelong learning.
Of course.
And learning from the people who you're serving, right? Like that's probably the most imperative is, we have a certain level of knowledge and expertise, but really the people who we are serving are the experts on their lived experience and how to better provide care. And I think we need to really keep them in the center of our focus.
Definitely. I know that something I feel is that we never stop learning, and there's no end to where our learning can be, and we can learn from everybody around us, especially our clients. Our clients' health is what they tell us it is. So how would one go about getting information on the steps of becoming a member of Caravan?
Well, that's another very low barrier thing. Basically, a person who wants to work with the Caravan should be if they're a nurse, they should be licensed with their college. If they're looking for a student placement, then I usually hope that they're in an RN or RPN program where they're at third or fourth year level.
Okay.
and that if a person is a full practicing nurse, then they would contact our board of directors or myself through our website, www.cvcaravan.ca, on our contact page. And then I usually go through an interview process, checking references, talking about the professional development required to work in this environment. And then if a person is trained or ready to work in this environment, then we try to find a way to orient them to the program. And then usually, it requires a 2-day-a-month minimum commitment from the person who is going to work on the van, just for continuity for the clients, and staying current and focused with our changes in policies, practices, and workflows and programs. And that, that I usually like it when people can commit at least a year to the work. And what I find is most people really enjoy it and end up staying with us for a lot longer.
Well, it's great to be able to keep people a lot longer. Is there anything else you would like to share with our listeners today, Sabina?
Just how grateful I am to be living on Comox territory and serving people in the Comox Valley. It's a great honor to live here, and it's a great honor to do this work.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sabina, for being with us today and for all of the great information and hard work that you do within our communities. Thank you to everybody listening, and once again, thank you to Caravan. Thank you so much for tuning in to 101.7 CHLY FM, A Sound Constitution. Now, as a Bachelor of Science in Nursing student, I'm encouraged to access many resources within our community that I feel would be useful and helpful to many. So I'll share some of them now that anyone can access in order to better support you. The first being the Walk-in Crisis Counseling Clinic. It is open Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 6:15 p.m. at 203 2000 Island Highway, Nanaimo, BC. Their phone number is 250-739-5710. It is a walk-in single-session crisis counseling that's offered. There is no appointment necessary, and services are offered to all ages free of charge. Another resource within our community is Loaves and Fishes Community Food Bank. A lot of us in our community struggle with food insecurity for many different reasons. This is a great resource. You can register for a 6-month period, and even if you do not have a fixed address, you're still able to be registered and will not be turned away. You can pick up Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday at Farquhar Street, Tuesday at the Alliance Church, Friday at Salvation Army Church, that is on 8th Street and Bruce Avenue, Saturday at Generations Church. And for any more information regarding Loaves and Fishes Community Bank, you can call them at 250-754-8347. Another great resource within our community is the 710 Club Society. The 710 Club meal program provides a hot, nutritious breakfast, homemade soup and/or porridge, plus a brown bag lunch to go that is served by community volunteers to those in need during the hours of 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. It is for anyone in need and free of charge. They pride themselves on working with our community members with dignity and respect. You can access this service at 285 Prideaux Street, Nanaimo.
Hello and welcome to the Truth in This part of our show, where we look at some common assumptions in the society and explain them in detail. If you're interested in finding out where we got our resources from, please check out our Facebook page at A Sound Constitution on CHLY 101.7 FM. This is a statement related to nutrition. True or false, gluten whole grain foods such as wheat and barley are a good source of protein and, in appropriate portions, can be a healthy addition to your daily diet. I'll give everyone tuning in 5 seconds to think about that statement. So this is true. Gluten is a protein that can be found in whole grain food products such as wheat, barley, and rye. If an individual doesn't suffer from gluten intolerance or allergy, an appropriate portion of whole grain foods that contain gluten can be a healthy source of your daily protein. True or false? Rubbing a gold ring on your eye won't get rid of a sty. I'll give everyone tuning in 5 seconds to think about that statement. This is false. Unfortunately, this old wives' tale has proven to be false. The best way to get rid of a sty is to keep your face and particularly your eyelid clean and preferably without makeup until the sty is gone. Now the next statement I've heard from my parents a lot of times when I was little. Let's find out if it's a myth. True or false? Going outside with wet hair can invite a cold. I'll give everyone tuning in 5 seconds to think about that statement. This is actually true. My mom was right. Researchers have identified when an individual gets a chill or their body temperature drops on the surface, which wet hair could inflict, the small blood vessels in their noses will constrict. This decreases the flow of white blood cells to the nose, which then reduces our body's defense against viruses and allows pathogens to become stronger and then infect the individual, making us more vulnerable to cold and flu infections.
So something everyone in healthcare has heard of is the social determinants of health. Now for our listeners, according to the Government of Canada website, this refers to a specific group of social and economic factors within the broader determinants of health, which are listed. They are income and social status, employment and working conditions, education and literacy, childhood experiences, physical environments, social supports and coping skills, healthy behaviors, access to health services, biology and genetic endowment, gender, culture, and race. Those social determinants of health are predisposed factors which cause many groups to experience poverty. Some alarming statistics that were actually found in one of my course textbooks are that within Canada, nearly 15% of people with disabilities live in poverty, and 59% of those are women. Children living with disabilities are twice as likely to rely on social assistance. 21% of single mothers in Canada raise their children living in poverty. 7% of single fathers raise their children in poverty. Women parenting on their own are twice as likely to enter shelters as two-parent households. And 28 to 34% of shelter users are Indigenous. As members of this community, we really need to think about what social determinants of health have affected individuals who experience homelessness.
Thank you for tuning in to Sound Constitution on CHLY 101.7 FM. Cassandra here, your co-host for today's episode. First off, awesome job to our host Samantha for opening up this conversation surrounding homelessness and the power of art. And in this specific part of the episode, art being music. I think it can be such a powerful tool for self-resiliency and coming to understand your emotions and how to help you overcome challenges. I know for myself, music's been such a huge part of my own coping strategies and has become a tool that supported my mental health. I could say music, for instance, is my soul food. And on that note, I'm super pumped to introduce our next guest on the show. With me today, I have Ryan. He's a fourth-year nursing student here at VIU as well, so super awesome to collaborate with a peer, and also has a strong passion for music himself. He's actually released one of his first solo albums called Tranquility, and actually earlier today I had the chance to listen to some of his songs, and I have to say, Ryan, you fed my soul. It was great. I listened to most songs on this Tranquility album, and awesome stuff. So thank you for being here and speaking to how music's influenced your life. Maybe you can start by telling our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, of course. So, my name's Ryan. I'm one of the nursing students at VIU. I'm in my fourth year. I'm about a month and a half away from graduating, which is a terrifying concept to me. I can't believe I'm an adult. But anyway, I am also a musician. That was one of my jobs, in fact, growing up. I was a musician. I was lucky enough to be able to kind of pursue that at a local and regional level, to the point where I was able to kind of feed myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an interesting little chapter of my life. I don't really pursue it on a professional level anymore, partially because of COVID and partially just because life changes and evolves, and I'm so caught up in this whole professional nursing thing that it's hard to juggle that many things at once. But I still dabble, for sure. I still write, I still play, and I still enjoy it. And music is something that has gotten me through a lot of difficult times. It's something that's helped get me through school, for sure. And it's something that I don't think, no matter what role it takes in my life, it's always going to be a part of my life somehow. So that's more or less it. I could talk a lot about myself and my quirks, but I think I'll leave that out of the mix.
Yeah, no problem, Ryan. Thank you so much for that. And wow, yeah, you're so close to being done this nursing program. I want to say congratulations, and good.
You're getting there too. You're getting there too.
Yeah, almost there. You're giving me light at the end of the tunnel right now.
I will say right now, from the position you're in, it goes real quick.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it already has. So that's exciting. Really interesting that you used music as a part of your work growing up. Like, so how long has music been a passion for you?
I remember as a kid hating it, to some degree. Like I for some reason, I really loved it as a very, very young kid. Like I would listen to classical music on my grandpa's record player with him when I was very young. Mm-hmm. And then somewhere along the way, for some reason or another, I decided that I would rebel, and I decided that I hated music. And then when I was around 10 years old or so, my dad started introducing me to more contemporary music, and my opinion changed on it again. So yeah, around 12 years old, I started playing guitar, and then from there it was just a downward spiral into the oblivion of self-producing music and writing and playing everywhere I can. And yeah.
I love it. That's great. And actually that kind of ties into how music is so personal and individualized. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's so empowering, is because you kind of find your niche and you find your passion on your terms. And I think that's a perfect example of it. And look at you now doing self-producing and doing solo albums. I think that's great.
Yeah, it's been an interesting process to get where I am right now. I'm a bit of an unusual person with the dual passions for like music and nursing, and the fact that music's been one of my only jobs really that I've ever worked until my time in nursing. So yeah.
Well, I think that's a strong asset, really, because I feel like you are probably know a lot about your emotions, and because I think music and emotions and feelings really tie close together. So I think that's a strong asset.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. It's definitely an emotional outlet, just like any other form of art. It's a very big emotional outlet. So,
mm-hmm. And it's so, it's something that nobody can take away from you. Like it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's, I think, talking to many of my friends and peers who dabble in the arts, like that's something that's almost universal that I hear from everyone is, art in general is just, it's your expression, how you want to do it. And that's a powerful thing, being able to kind of voice the emotions that are held deep within your soul.
Yes.
In a way that's kind of unique and special to you. So.
Yeah, very well said. Thank you, Ryan, for that. That's awesome. So I guess on that note, you said you're around 12 when you started playing guitar, and then it kind of was, that's when it all really started for you. What do you think was your inspiration for you to jump back into it and immerse yourself rather?
Oh, dude, I really liked Metallica.
Yes, there we go. That was
honestly, like there was nothing really all that deep to it. I really, really enjoyed music that I thought was like difficult to listen to for other people, because I thought that somehow made me cool in my rebellion. And yeah, so that was honestly one of the big ones. I grew to find the emotional resonance in music kind of simultaneously, but I think that first little push was just because I thought that Metallica was really cool, and having long hair and being all, yeah, bro, I'm so cool. I listen to harsh music. I thought that was just the coolest thing in the world.
That's rad. And then it transformed for you. I love
And then it transformed into something where there was a lot of like emotional connection to it. And I was like, wow, this is actually really powerful. I'm able to like express things that I never knew how to express before as an emotionally colorblind child. So
oh man, so that was actually going to be my next question for you, was how does music inspire you now? What has it grown to for you?
It's filled a lot of roles, honestly. It inspires me in a lot of ways. It also kind of breaks my heart and crushes my soul in other ways too. Music is just something that I find an immense amount of emotional resonance in, and that takes a lot of forms. So that can be expression of positivity, expression of negativity, and then listening to the music that other people have created. As long as it feels like it comes from a place of like genuine, like creative inspiration, I feed into the energy of other people's music quite a bit. So it's just an amazing art medium that it just resonates with me in a particular way, in the same way that for other people, like films resonate in like the people who will cry at different movies, or the people who will like go to an art gallery and just be like stunned by all the pieces that they can see. It's kind of the medium that I found resonated the most with me.
Well said. Thank you for that. That it kind of brings me to, I'm also a photographer on the side, and you're so right with capturing something and having immense emotion in it. Nailed it there for sure. And I think for me, I guess why I feel like it helps immensely with my mental health is just that it provides space for you to feel whatever emotions you need to feel, whether that's anger or motivation or sadness. And I think it allows you to kind of give you that space to work through what you need to work through.
Totally safe. It's a safe space for you to feel the emotion that you want to feel. Like I feel no shame when I'm driving on the island highway, blasting my Katie Lang records and crying into the steering wheel. Like that is, oh my goodness.
Yes.
It's a wonderful experience.
That's so great. So I mean, I guess we kind of touched on this. How has music helped you?
It gonna kind of come back to a similar topic that I can't seem to be quiet about. It's a way that I can channel emotion and get it out, or kind of take on other people's emotion and feel what they're feeling in a therapeutic way. It just allows me to do that in ways that I don't really find I can do through other mediums. Like I can't say in words what I can express through music, and I can't quite feel what other people are saying or expressing quite as much as I can when they express it in like a musical form. So yeah, it's
blowing, actually, that comment there, Ryan. That was you, I think, encapsulated that all emotions and how you can't express them with words, but with music you can. And wow.
I wish I had the ability to express it in words like that. There's some people that are just so gifted with words, and I've never quite been that.
I guess that's another kind of platform of art, really, is words and poetry and writing. They kind of all tie in with each other in ways of expression, and I think it also helps influence resiliency, possibly through being able to like understand your own emotions and what you see to be the truth. And yeah, it's great.
Oh, definitely.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Okay, so moving on. I mean, I had a couple other questions, but you know what? You're just like the way that you're expressing it is so amazing, because it's hitting on your resiliency and how it's helped manage your emotions and how you can use it in stressful, difficult times. So I think that's awesome. I guess maybe one of the last questions I would have is, what advice could you give our listeners on integrating music into their lives as a coping strategy, maybe regardless of ability or musically inclined?
Well, I think part of that kind of depends on what you want to get out of music, whether you want to create and actually play an instrument or sing or do something like that, or whether you want to just learn to appreciate music as an art form more.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I find like I enjoy playing guitar, playing bass, playing piano, what have you, singing, all that sort of thing. I enjoy that, right place, right time.
Mm-hmm.
But like just as much as I like playing, I appreciate music as an art form and what other people have created quite a bit. So like I collect vinyls. I've got like a vinyl player set up right in front of me, and so it all depends on kind of how you want to explore that. Like if you want to more just get into the culture of appreciating music as an art form, then I would recommend just like buy a cheap record player or something like that, like shop used, and try to build yourself a janky, like ancient record player setup, like what I inherited from my great uncle when I started playing records and listening to records. And then just if you know there's a few albums out there that really resonate with you that you love, then try to find those. Like go out and support your local record store and buy the albums you like and appreciate them for that art form. If it comes to playing music, I think there's different goals that you might have and might want to achieve with it. You may want to write music. You might want to be the best in the world at it. You might want to just kind of do it for fun. And my recommendation is to just pursue it entirely based on what you feel would be beneficial to get out of it, and don't ever try to be anything you're not. Like I once had dreams of superstardom when I was a teenager, and I thought that the music life professionally was all that, and that's all I wanted to do with my life. And you know what? At the time, that was really, really true. That's what I wanted. It was a genuine desire, but through the years, through doing it professionally for a while, it wasn't what I needed going forward in my life. It was more from a professional basis what I enjoyed at that time in my life. And now it's more of a take it or leave it sort of thing. So yeah, the biggest advice I can give is to just pursue music based on whatever would be truly good for you to get out of it. So if you just want to like pick up a guitar and learn to play some covers, that's awesome. Just do it. Like just experiment and try to find a way to successfully do that and just have fun with the process. If you want to record and release music, like just try, just give it a go. Try and teach yourself and learn from the vast amount of resources that are online, and then just do it. Just try to get what you need to out of music, and don't try to be anything you're not. Like I would be absolutely miserable if I tried to pursue music on a quote unquote professional level anymore. But just kind of sitting around and enjoying music for the fun that it is to play, that sort of thing is great. Like that's all where I am right now. But
awesome.
Yeah, that's about all I can say. I'm just going to start going in circles.
No, I love it, Ryan. Thank you so much. What I really got out of that was music so individualized, and
definitely
allowing yourself to be vulnerable enough to find that in you. And that in itself is so empowering. So I think that's huge, awesome advice. Thank you so much, Ryan.
No worries.
And actually, we're going to be playing one of your songs off Yeah, I think it's awesome. Off of your newly released album, Tranquility. It's called Away. One of my favorites that I heard on there. It really spoke to me and made me have a lot of emotions and appreciate the art that you produced. So well done on that. I think before we jump into that and into hearing this song, can you maybe just dive in a little bit? I'm just going to stop for a sec. Can you please just tell us a little bit about it and maybe what inspired you to compose this song?
Yeah, totally. So the recording you're going to listen to is not actually the original album version. It's just kind of a live take that I did of it in a basement like 2 years ago now. Just me and a guitar, no fancy flashy stuff other than the mountain of echo that I like putting on all of my instruments and my voice. So Away is a song, a very cheesy song that I wrote during my first year of school and my first year moving away from kind of my safe zone with my parents. And it was just kind of an expression of how homesick I was and how unsatisfied I found myself with my life at the very beginning of my transition into independence. Because it was a really scary time, and it was me moving to a new place. I didn't know anyone, so it's a bit of a cheesy topic, I suppose, in hindsight. But at the time, it meant a whole lot to me, and I'm pretty proud of the song I was able to write based on it. So yeah, that's more or less it. It's a song about being homesick.
Well, thank you for being vulnerable enough to write that and allow us to listen to it. I think it's super powerful. Conversation here on CHLY with Sound Constitution. This has been really fun, Ryan. And here is Away.
Awesome. And for old time's sake, do you mind if I just do our little call sign?
Oh, heck yes.
Oh, fantastic. You're listening to A Sound Constitution on CHLY 101.7 FM in Nanaimo.
As I watch the tranquil sea from the edge of the bay, I had a dream of home far away, and my life led astray. I saw visions of gray skies and gentle rays. Oh, the madness faded away as the forest swayed. At my mind, and the neon glow of night, it blinds my eyes. In a sea of sullen faces, I can't meet at night. In this land of empty lives, my dreams die. Now I love
Thank you for tuning in to 101.7 CHLY FM, A Sound Constitution. Special thank you to Sabina and Ryan for your time once again, and to the whole A Sound Constitution team. Tune in next week on Thursday at 2 p.m. for another episode where we discuss relevant health topics for our community and debunk health myths. Thank you for tuning in.